this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell to be notified of future videos. Thank you.
Hello Internet, I'm excited today. I must tell you, we've got Colonel Frans Fourie here. He's one Recce commander. I have to apologize here to everyone. I said to people that he's actually a 4 Recce commander. He was at 4 Reconnaissance Regiment. My mistake, I apologize. Let's move on. Colonel, you are very welcome here. Thank you for talking to us. You had a most distinguished career. I know you also got to Honoris Crux medal, and we really respect you. Welcome to the show. Can I ask you, where do you come from?
Of course. Thank you very much. I want to start by thanking you. I've watched a few of the conversations with Maurice and SV and those, and I just realized that you are an amazing person instituting this, and the inspiration you got from the dreams you had. I really and truly respect that, and I think what you are doing by recording the heritage of so many people really contributes to the preservation of an era of South Africa which a lot of people value and treasure. A lot of people hate that, but that's fine. I think recording this and doing what you are doing is most admirable, and I want to thank you for that, Koos. Koos, I would like to start off by telling you where I was born and how I grew up and whatever. You know, if you look back on your life from where you are now, or at least I do, I find that there was specific incidences or whatever from childhood days that contributed to what I am today and where I am today. So I hope I don't bore people with that, but I would like to take it through that steps, and I'll just highlight certain things that made an impact on me as a person, and I believe that brought me to where I am today. Of course, I was born on the 5th of April in 1957 in Pretoria, from a family of 5. I'm the youngest. My father at the time worked at the Department of Health. My mother was a trained sister. She was a theater sister, and did also very well in her career. And then at the age of 3, we lived in Sunnyside. And at the age of 3, I think that's the age I can start remembering and recalling certain things. We moved from Sunnyside, or my parents moved from Sunnyside to Meyers Park, and it's strange. To this day, I can remember the street address of where we lived. Jan Meyery Laan 165, Meyers Park. Now, the house we lived in is on the slopes of a little koppie, a little hill, and not far from that, the Appies River, or flows past. I'm mentioning this because it had a distinctive impact on my life. In any case, I want to start at the age of 3. My brother is 4 years older than I am, and you know, he used to have friends, and you know, the younger brother used to hang around and so on. And we had a swimming pool, and they were playing and mugging around, and accidentally I was bumped into the swimming pool, and I couldn't swim. I was, you know, small and so on, and neither could they jump in the pool to try and get me out or save me or whatever. And my brother told me, they just shouted to me, kick and swing your arms as hard as you can. And you know, then I dropped down, sank down to the bottom. I came up again. They said, and they shouted at me, swing your arms and kick. So I did that, and eventually I reached the side of the swimming pool and I got out, or they pulled me out. But from that day, I started swimming. I could swim, and you know, some of our family and friends used to come around, and they used to toss coins into the swimming pool, and I used to dive them out at the age of 3. You know, they all said no, you know, whatever. I'm telling you this because, you know, it reflects later, I believe, in my life. My father was also involved with a citizen force. He was with a, I know he spoke about Saracen tanks and no, Sherman tanks. And he used to show us photographs of the Sherman tanks and so on. And I mean, we were small. And you know, I would sit and stare at him when he polished his boots and, you know, boned his Sam Brown and whatever, you know, it was. And the fact that he polished his boots and whatever, it was enforced that the children, we all had to clean our own shoes. Doesn't matter what shoes you had to polish it or clean it or whatever, because dad did that. If dad does that, you do it as well, you know. And that was actually very interesting. He was very involved, as I say, with a citizen force, and then he accepted a permanent force post in Kroonstad. It was at Een Mobiele Wag. I don't know what it's called, one mobile force. I don't know if that's the right translation, but that's in Kroonstad. It's actually where the engineer corps is today, or some years ago. So in 1960, 61, at my age of 4, we moved to Kroonstad, and we were accommodated in the camp, and that also had a impact on me. You know, it was all soldiers around you, and you know, the children you played with and associated with was, you know, all PF kids, and we enjoyed it. And, you know, going to the officers' mess and you know, having lunch there and so on. My dad was then, I think, a captain, and he was the adjutant to the OC or whatever. And another thing I can very clearly recall was that Second Lieutenant Shylock Mulder used to look after us when my mom and dad went out. Now, Shylock Muller became a general as well, and so on. But it's just interesting, you know, the link again, that he was in the same unit my dad served in, and Shylock really became a legend, I would say, in the army. I know he also became the officer commanding of the military academy, and he left the year just before I went to the military academy. But also a very interesting person. My primary school years then started in Kroonstad. Kroonjewel Volksskool was the school, and then in the middle of age 7, 1964, my dad accepted a post at the CSIR, die WNR in Pretoria, at the Defence Research Institute. They just formed the Defence Institute at the CSIR, and he accepted a post there. So we moved back to Pretoria, and we stayed in Murrayfield. Now, Murrayfield is towards the east of Pretoria, and the road coming from Pretoria Main went through Myers Park, Silverton, those areas towards the east. But we were on a very small gravel road where we used to play cricket and whatever. And that's where we stayed. We were literally, I think, the fourth house that was built in the current Murrayfield. I can clearly remember, coming back from school and so on. We had to chase the cattle away and so on, the grazing in our garden and that type of thing. We used to hunt, or my dad used to hunt kudu in that area. And if you drive on the main road, the dual carriageway towards the east, we drive literally in front of the house where we stayed, and it's just amazing. My dad planted a row of trees, and that row of trees is there to this day. And I'm talking 1965. So it always brings back the memories if I drove past there. Yeah. Okay. Then course at the Myers Park Laerskool or Myers Park School, we lived about 4 kilometers if you drive the road or from the school. Now, my sister is 2 years older than I am, and my brother 4 years older than what I am, and we all had bicycles. So, I think for the first 2 or 3 days, my dad dropped us at school, but from then we had to cycle with our bicycles, winter, summer, to the school. 4 kilometers. 4 k's is a short distance, but if you are in grade 2 and standard 1, 4 k's becomes a distance. So you cycle to school in the morning, you cycle back, then you want to go and play rugby or cricket or whatever, you get onto the bicycle, cycle there, back. And so it was good exercise, and it played a part in my life. I enjoyed sport, and played everything, and rugby, cricket, and those things, and I really enjoyed that. Then I think it was standard 2 or 3, my mother and father thought it well that we would be educated in some or other musical instrument. And I can recall my dad, he had one of these big old tape recording machines with the rolls. And I think it was Sunday nights. There was a program that was Ida or something like that. They used to play the most beautiful, mostly classical music. And my dad used to record that. And, we got really used to listening to more classical and I want to say conventional music rather than, pop and the other stuff. Why I'm mentioning this, we had little gangs, the trompie. It was the trompie time. So there was in our neighborhood, there was a lot of Afrikaans laities, and there were some English laities. The English guys had their little gang, and the Boere laities or the Afrikaans laities had their little gang. But we were serious. I mean, and we fought. The two gangs fought one another. Fought how? With kleilatte and ketties. So, the gang leader of our gang would meet with the gang leader of the other gang, and we would arrange a claylite battle. And we would go down to the river. There was beautiful clay and whatever, and then we used to engage in this battle. Now, this is also a pointer in terms of, if I look back on, in my life, where I am, what I am. So that was very interesting and very nice. I want to get back to the piano story. So my mother, enrolled us with a teacher, a music teacher, and the three of us, brother, sister, and myself, enrolled. Dropped us off with a car, and okay, now we have to take the piano lessons. They bought the piano, it was put in the house, and there it was. So the first day, you get these funny books where you draw notes, and I up to this day I can't read it and I don't understand it. But in any case, so it was also the years, I think, of The Sound of Music. And we used to, watch The Sound of Music with Julie Andrews, and, The Hills Are Alive, and Douwe Ray, A Female Deer, that type of stuff. In any case, okay, now you come back and you have to practice. And that was very interesting, and each one got a turn, and so on. So the next day we went, we had to go with the bicycles. So we drove with the bicycles there, and it was the lessons and whatever. Came back. I think it was the third or the fourth time we had to go. Now, the road or the route we took went past the area where that Kleilat gat of us was. Now, my friends and my lighties, they were there. So if we pass on our bicycles to go and play piano, they said, Frans, where are you going? We're going to play clavier now. We're going to play piano. And the fourth time or the fifth time we passed there, I said to my brother and sister, okay, you continue. I'm turning off left here. And I went to play Kleilat. So when my brother and sister came back, I used to join them, go back, and my sister had to teach me. Whatever was taught at the piano lessons, I would sit there and so on, but I didn't attend the lessons. Then I think at the end of that month, my mother went to pay, for the next month, or I can't quite exactly remember, if it was prepaid or, after paid or whatever. So she said, okay, she wants to pay for the 3 children for the month. And this lady said, no, but it's only two children. And she said, no, it's for the 3 children. And so this piano teacher said, no, Frans only came for 4 lessons and he never pitched up again. So you can imagine what that brought out when I got home, and I was religiously, tockling away on the playing on the piano, because my sister taught me, but I had no gut to go to the teachers and whatever. In any case, so my parents just accepted, okay, my sister carried on and my brother carried on for a while, and he also got out of this. So that was an interesting time. The little gangs we had, the swimming, and then my brother used to be a very keen pellet gun hunter. And I also, one Christmas, as a Christmas gift, received a pellet gun. But the lighties that is 4 years older, they don't want this, young lightie trailing behind them. But then my brother and his friends used to go hunting, and I would let them go until they disappeared. Then I would trial. I will come behind them, and when it got really bushy, I would sneak up closer, and they said, "Here is Frans alweer," and they accepted me, and so I hunted with them, and shooting birds and rats and mice and dassies and whatever with the pellet guns was just great. So that's another pointer in my life, which I think my brother installed in me, the hunting and the guns and nature. That was good. I don't want to sound as if I'm selling myself, But and it's another thing that still remains with me to this day. We didn't go to school with shoes or whatever. Winter and summer, you know, skullfoot, bare feet to school, winter and summer, and so on. But I really excelled in athletics, rugby, and cricket. But in Standard 4, I was awarded the what do they call it, the Victor Ledorum or whatever, and in Standard 5. Now, at that, then, you know, I had to go to Pilditch and all these funny places. And all the other people ran with spikes and wegspringblokke, what's that? Blocks. You know, I used to dig a little hole in the ground, you know, and that was it. In any case, I overheard my mom and dad. It was a Sunday morning. I can't remember. They were lying in bed, and they said, you know, they think they should buy me some spikes, and they don't really have the money to do that. And you know, spikes was an expensive thing relatively in those days, and that also had a real big impact on me. They couldn't really afford spikes, but I got my spikes. Not that I wanted spikes, but they bought me spikes. So, you know, great respect to my parents to assist me to excel in whatever I was good in. But that, you know, that's also a thing that brought some value into my life going forward, and you know, also realizing doesn't matter what your circumstances is, in what position or authority you are placed in, is to contribute to somebody that is excelling and to assist them. So, you know, I think it's more of a value thing more than a prestige thing of flipping, you know, being first or Victor Ledorum or whatever. That's besides the point. It's the moral thing of supporting somebody that can excel. Now, what my mother and father did before any of the kids went to high school, bearing in mind that my dad still worked at the CSIR, my mother was continuing with a nursing career, is to do aptitude tests, you know, to say, okay, you know, in which direction are you inclined, what's your interest, etc. So I went for those tests and whatever, and they said no, and I was very, very, very fond of animals. You know, my whole life I grew up with dogs. If I got a hiding, you know, I would leave the house and go and sleep with my dog in his kennel until I sulked, and when I was okay, I moved back into the house. Any case, my love for nature, my love for animals, they said no, you know, something like maybe a veterinary surgeon or farming, or you know, something like that would be good. So we started looking at an agricultural school, and my parents drove around to a few agricultural schools, and eventually, I think the last one we visited was Marensky, the Hans Marensky Agricultural School in Zanin. And you know, if you go from Pietersburg, what's it, Polokwane or whatever they call it, over the Magubas Kloof, and you go, you know, down the Magubas Kloof, and eventually you come to the Marensky school. I mean, just the setting and whatever, the climate, and yeah, it's just beautiful. And when we drove in there, you know, I think before we had the interview with the teachers and my dad spoke to the headmaster and so on, you know, I think the decision was made. So, okay, after primary school, we went to Marensky. Enrolled in Marensky, and my brother was in standard 9 then, so we both went to Marensky. He went into standard 9, and I went as a standard 6. I think we came in on a Sunday. We booked in on a Sunday. Now, just outside the hostel, there's these huge mango trees and lychee trees and whatever. So, now parents left, you there hanging around, looking at these beautiful mangoes hanging on the trees and so on. And I decided, let's scale a tree and try the mangoes. So said and so done. I think one of the guys that was booked into the same room of me, we went out and we picked some mangoes. Holy behold, the one teacher came out and he said, now, what are you two guys doing? What do you think you are doing? I said, well, he said to us, you are stealing fruit. It's not your fruit. It's the school's fruit. So before the school started in my secondary school career, that Monday, the official school started, I had 6 of the best from Mr. Kiltso, prior to the school start. But it was great, but it was a bit of a wake-up call. So, I realized, there's discipline here, and you have to respect whatever. Then the school culture is just of such a nature that in standard 6, sorry, I'm waving a few flies away. I'll get my fly swat now. In any case, you get allocated to a matric, or a matric choose you, then you are his, they call it the sort. So you have to carry his case to school, you have to wash his socks, you have to polish his shoes, do all these funny things. That was just part of it. And the guy I became, who was my, let's call him a master, is Johan Boshoff. Used to call him Bossy. Now, Bossy came from Botswana. Now, he used to come to school with his own bakkie at, I think he was age, 17 or whatever. But he drove from Francistown, where they lived. So he came with his own bakkie with a .22 behind the seat. And it was a Daihatsu, a powder blue Daihatsu bakkie. So on his own, he drove from Botswana and to the school, and his whole career, secondary school career he spent there. Any case, okay, so I was the slave of Bossy. But Bossy was really a great guy. He comes from Botswana. He's they farm. And then his father was a big game hunter his whole life. And during the Mau Mau era in Kenya and Tanzania, those days, they and he was with them as a sibling, were busy hunting on the foothills of Kilimanjaro with an old Bedford truck. So they had this truck full of ivory, rhinoceros horn, and whatever they collected as big game hunters. And then the Mau Mau uprising and whatever came, and they fled. So they came to Botswana with a Bedford load of ivory and skins and rhino horn and whatever. And they got a farm, or acquired a farm, to the north of Francistown as well as to the south of Francistown. And Bossy was a great guy. Now, and that's also another pointer in my life. One of the things I can really put my finger on to say that formed me in terms of where and what I am. Bossy was totally unconventional. He also used to bring, he always, not always, some after some holidays, he used to bring a small crocodile back from Botswana, and play with it in the bath and whatever. And then I think it was the July holidays. Bossy said, well, come to me to Botswana and, for the July holidays. And my parents agreed. And that's also where I, shot he was the only child. Now, Bossy is a big guy. He's a farmer. And I think they had about 1,500 head of cattle. Now, these cattle need to be dipped and, dehorned and whatever. And he was a matric lighty. So these, the cattle, round them up in the kraals and whatever, and you get obstropolis, some of the obstropolis cows and whatever. Then his father used to say, Bossy, sort them out. And he used to take a dropper, that size dropper, and he used to stand in the kraal. And this cattle used to storm him, literally charge him. He used to step to a side and just open up and hit it just below the horns and, whatever. And, he was really a tough guy and it was great. So I learned a lot of, farming stuff from Bossy and them. I also shot my first animals there. And the first bokkie I shot was a steenbok. Now, I aimed at the shoulder, the biggest part of the steenbok with a .22. Pulled the trigger and it went into the air, made a somersault and dropped right onto the ground. When we drove up to it, I shot it through the head. And there was the hunting guy, the black guy that assisted on the farm was Chauke. And he said, this child can shoot. Look where he shot this buck, through the head. A steenbok through the head. At that distance, this guy can shoot. But I aimed for the biggest part of so I didn't even aim at the head. But I kept that for myself and I took the honors. And so that was also, a very good time. Back at school at Marinsky, there was a little river running through the farm. So weekends, if somebody responsibly didn't sign you out, you could go out legally, but a responsible person had to sign you out, and then you could go. But we used to slip out under the guidance of Bossy. So Bossy signed us out, and then we went out. Now it was three of us. It was Bossy, myself, and then one of my close friends, Mario Jungbloed, which is also a qualified lawyer and attorney and magistrate and whatever. But in any case, so we used to make a little camp next to this river and camp there and just live off the land. We used to poach with Bossy's .22, or if we could not get something to shoot, we went to the pig styles and the chickens we had, and we knew how to get hold of them. So we had a ball of a time over weekends, staying at the side of the river, jumping in there from the trees and swimming and, braaiing chicken or whatever. The one night, it was very cold. Our shoes was wet. Now, I didn't have other shoes than our school shoes. So we made a little fire on this bank of the, so it was a downslope and the river, and we made this fire, and we all lay, on upside, under blankets, and I think Bossy had a sleeping bag, and we stacked our shoes around the fire, and we woke up at this stage with an incredible stenchy smell. And holy behold, what happened is, the fire was here, the shoes were stacked here, and we slept here. So we shifted off, and with the shifting off, our shoes all went into the fire. and the bottom of our blankets and the sleeping bags started burning in the coals. So there we were. The only thing we could find of our shoes was the rings where the shoelaces went through. Now there's a lot of thorns and whatever there. So, what do you do now? No shoes. So I think Mario went back. He had some other shoes and brought us some shoes. But that was very interesting times. Another actually very comical thing that happened. The one night we said, okay, tonight we're going to shoot a duiker. And we had a torch as a spotlight, and we were looking for duiker. And at the stage, through the leaves, you see this eye. And then it disappears, but you are shining in that direction and the eye disappears. Any case, Bossy, he was aiming. So he waited for that eye to appear again. When it appeared again, he pulled the trigger and the eye went down. So we went into that direction to look for the duiker. But what it actually was, it was the light of the sewage work of the hostel and whatever that just appeared through the leaves now and then as so he actually shot out one of the fluorescent lamps of the waterworks, so to call. While I'm telling this story is on the Monday, the farm manager reported to the hostel principal and the principal of the school, because he climbed up and he saw this hole through the screen of the light, and he said, "There's poachers. There must be poachers on this farm, and it's a serious thing and whatever." So this was announced, at school, and they said, everybody must be very, very alert wherever they go. Please look for tracks. There's poachers and whatever. So yeah, that was just a comical and a very interesting story. Then another thing that impacted, same story, coming from primary school, the athletics and the rugby and whatever, in standard 8 with the athletics in the first quarter of the year. So I used to do sprints and high jump and long jump and stuff like that. And we were sitting on the pavilion, and if you reach a certain age, you can run hurdles. So we were sitting on the pavilion, and the teachers were saying, we need hurdle athletes and, whatever. Yeah, and we were sitting there, and we said no. Any case, at this stage, myself and a friend said, okay, let's go and try this hurdle thing. I don't like it, but let's go and try it. So I managed to get this hurdle thing under control very, very, very quickly. And I thought, well, nobody competes in it and whatever. And I started running hurdles. And I did so well that I set up record times, because I was really a good sprinter. I could sprint. And the hurdle thing to me was nice. And to such an extent that the April holidays, after we went to Polokwane or Pietersburg, those stages with the inter-high, and I came first in a lot of these things. And they brought, I think it was Gert Potgieter was his name. He was he excelled in hurdles, and I think he participated in the Helsinki Olympic Games in the early 60s or whatever. They even brought that guy to the school to teach the guys, the hurdle runners, what to do. And he made a big impact in terms of our training and so on. Any case, so Gert trained us and whatever. And then after the April holiday, it was you have to go to Pretoria to Pilditch, and I can't even remember the tournaments or what. In any case, my brother's one friend, Daintjie Roux, they had a big farm, the Hans Merensky, or the Eiland. It's a holiday resort in the Lowveld. They had a big farm about 18 kilometers to the east of that holiday resort. So we went there for the holidays. My father and Daintjie, they were going to hunt, and I mean, it was a great time. So the first Saturday, Daintjie, my brother's friend, said, okay, we're gonna do horse riding now. So they had 3 horses. The one was kind of tame, and the other 3 was wild. But they only had 2 saddles. So the tamest horse, my brother rode without a saddle. Daintjie took one of the wilder ones, and I the second wilder ones. Now, to saddle them up, they had to put them into the, what's a drukgang? The cattle druk.
Feeder or something.
Where you put the cattle in when you want to dip and dose them. That's how wild the horses was. To saddle them up, you had to put them in there and, saddle them up. In any case, so there we were, ready to go. 2 with saddles, 1 without saddle. And then it was the poles in front of this drukgang. So they pulled out these poles, and off these horses went. And I was going down a 2-lane path. So it had the middle mannetjie, the middle area, and it was running full out. And I was trying to hold back the horse, but it wouldn't. And my saddle started slipping to the right-hand side. And I was slipping off. And the hooves was coming past my head. And at this stage, I said, no, these hooves are going to get me, and I'm going to fall. So I decided, okay, I'll jettison. And I just left. And when I landed, I heard a thing cracking like a 303 or, just a huge crack. In any case, didn't worry about it. And there I was lying in the middle of the path. So I wanted to get up. And when I wanted to get up, the bottom part of my right leg just collapsed 90 degrees. But I had no pain or nothing at that stage. And, I lay back. I realized, okay, I broke my leg. And that was the cracking sound. So the tibia and the fibula actually did a spiral break, with my foot, with my right foot on the ground, my left foot still over and the momentum snapped my leg. To cut a very long story short, so no phones and stuff at that stage. So the message came to the main house of Daintjie and my dad, where they were slaughtering the rooibok and the kudu or whatever. So the message came, they think Frans broke his leg. They must come and pick me up. So the message came back. My father said, how the hell can, how can he break his leg? With what? He must wait. We are busy slaughtering and cutting biltong. So I was laying there in the road for I don't know how long, and my legs started swelling up and so on. Eventually, they pitched up there with a bakkie, and my mother was there, and she's a trained sister, and she said no, and she put in some splints and wet towels around it, and now through every bump of that road to Tzaneen, it was agony. And eventually we arrived in Tzaneen, and they took x-rays and they said, no, it needs to be fixed in a different way. They just put it in plaster and whatever. Why I'm telling this story, it was a painful start of the end of my career as an athlete, because after that, obviously I didn't participate in the hurdles and whatever, but I carried on with sport and so on, and so it was okay. Yeah, let's jump to matric. So Mariinsky was a really a great school, agricultural school, which you worked hard, you had academical subjects, and then obviously agricultural subjects, and you learned a lot, and it was a great experience. All my friends at farms in the area, and weekends we used to go and hunt on the farms and go with them to the farms and so on, and it was really great. Okay, then in about November, the Department of Education came around, and they spoke to the teachers and whatever, and they said, okay, we'll award bursaries to scholars that can go to bursary university, and my name was up, and to a total surprise, because I've never been a great academic, but in any case, I was given a bursary to go and study physical training, PT or elbow-onnie type of thing. I think they later called it bewegingskunde. I don't know what the English is for that, but in any case. So, but in the meantime, my sister, she went to the University of the Orange Free State, Koffsies. So when I thought I was going to not make matric, because in certain subjects I spotted 3 questions, and I think in 2 of these my questions didn't come up, so I was doomed. In any case, we were touring Namibia those days, or after I did matric, and at a certain date the parents could phone in and find out if we made it, or what was your results and so on. I think Botha in those years was at the UN, seconded to the UN. And I know that in history, the question was, what impact does the UN have on whatever? Now, I used to always listen to the news, and, I was well informed about whatever. So, I was just blabbing on in this history paper, about Botha this and Botha that, and this and that. I got a B for history on totally just blabbing away. So I passed matric, and I got I could go to university. I declined to go and study physical training at Tikkies. I think if you had 2 children, 3 children at Koffsies in Bloemfontein, you got some discount on hostel fees and whatever. So I enrolled for B.Juris, and yes, I did well. Now, I wrote matric when I was 16, 17. That's just the age bracket I was in. So my first year at university, I was 17, 18. Now, I mean, you're still a child, and maybe, and sport and the outdoor activities appealed more to me than the academics. In any case, I want to my own detriment, just recall this little story. So Latin, it's one of the subjects you have to take. So our first Latin test, now, you get the guys that's really focused, and, they study, and, they do the thing. So the marks were being read out. So I think the highest mark was, let's say, 57. This was the bright guy in the class, 57. And let's say there's 40 guys in the class. So, you read out name by name by name, and we were in the 20s, and, Frans Fourie still didn't come up. I think we were going to the 11%. A few guys were called out, 10%. Frans Fourie's name still not up. So the 9%. So the professor picks up this paper. He says, Mr. Frans Fourie, 9.5%. So he pages through this paper. Now you have to stand up and go and fetch your paper. So he pages through this document. He says, after paging through this, I can gather another 0.5%. Mr. Fourie, you have also double figures in your first Latin test. But in any case, yeah, it was a great embarrassment, but it also taught you a lesson. At school, I never studied. I just listened very closely in class, and maybe look at a few notes and read here and then I passed. So, I realized that doesn't work at university. You have to actually get some bum time behind the books. Then they established the Aquatilis diving club at the university, which did scuba diving and then underwater hockey. Now, underwater hockey was a thing totally unknown, but I went for the scuba thing. But eventually, I started playing underwater hockey, and with some very, very great friends, and we used to scuba dive and do wonderful things, and got the university team, and later on Free State colors for underwater hockey, and it made you very, very fit. You build up a huge lung capacity, and it's an interesting thing. And I used to jog from the hostel to the stadium swimming pool. I think it's about 4 or 5 Ks. So going to practice, I used to jog from the hostel there, practice for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then jog back. So I was super, super fit in those days. University days was very interesting. I enjoyed it. One thing maybe I would like to just recall about that is I had political science as one of my subjects, and our professor was Neil Barnard. Now, Neil Barnard later became the head of the intelligence services, and but he was such a gentleman and nice guy. Now, they all took note of whoever participated in whatever sport, that when there was exams or tests written and you had to represent either the university or the province, they would let you go. They actually said, go. And Neil Barnard used to say, I take notice of whatever you are doing. When you come back, come and tell me within, let's say, 2 weeks when you are ready to write the test or the exam. That's the type of guy he was. And, that also sticks in my mind and now I relate back to the spikes. My dad and mom had to buy, it's giving you the space to actually excel, even if you are in a position. So Neil Barnard also had a decisive impact on my life in terms of how a very senior, clever person can work with his students or subordinates. So that was very good to me. In any case, after my third year, I I got a intern post at Nudea and Nudea. It's one of the big attorney firms in Bloemfontein. I said to Mr. Nudea, I need 2 subjects to actually graduate. He said, that's no problem. But we would like to offer you a post as an intern. Jy's you're an attorney. What do you call it? It's an intern.
Mandaat prokureur, article clerk.
Yeah. So, he gave me that post, and I was happy. And towards the end of the interview, he said to me, "Well, Mr. Fourie, your camps, your military camps. How many camps do you still have to do?" And so on. I said to him, "Sir, I haven't actually done military service or national service." So he said to me, "Well, that's a problem, because those days, if they employed you as an employee into a company or a firm or whatever, and you go and do your military camps or your national service, they actually had to pay you a full salary, and I think they subtracted whatever you earned in the military." So he said to me, "Well, in that case, sorry, we financially it's not feasible." And I totally understood that, and I said, "Sir, thank you very much." And in front of that seat, I just decided, okay, get your military service done, do that, and finish your studies and carry on with life. Now, after in the third year, I actually received my call-up papers from the military. So I was called up to the ADK, Administrative Duty Corps, Blue Beret, whatever, because I've been studying law and whatever. And I know my brother, which is 4 years old, he went to the ADK, and I just said, me, ADK, never in my life. Not talking derogatively about it. I just said, no, I won't fit in there. In any case, the recruitment office in Pretoria, because my parents were still living in Pretoria, so I went back to Pretoria, and at the recruiting office there was a Commandant Hansen. He was working there. An old person, but a very nice person. So I went there and I spoke to him. I said, "Commandant, I've been called up to the ADK, but I don't want to go to the ADK." He said, "No problem. Where do you want to go?" I said, "I would like to become a diver, because I was very involved with the scuba and the underwater stuff, and I enjoy water sport." He said, "Well, a diver means Navy. It means you have to enroll or become a full-time PF." I said, no. PF me, never. No. He said, "Well, okay, where do you want to go then?" I said, "Well, then I would like to become a parabat." He said, "I can't put you there either, because to become a parachutist or a parabat, you have to go to another unit. They will come around and they do certain selection stuff, and if you pass the test, you go to one parachute battalion." So he said, "I'll tell you what I do. I put you at one side. It's in Bloemfontein." But he didn't realize, or that I've been in Bloemfontein for 3 years. But the gentleman he said, "I'll put you there, because then you can kind of acclimatize and get used to the Bloemfontein environment." And he knows that one side is one of the first battalions the parabats go to do selection and whatever. Reported at the Pretoria station, went on the train to Bloemfontein. They collected us, the roofie ride, driving in the back of a Bedford, stopping and stuffing you around. In any case, okay, we arrived and got our hair shaven and, you know, basic kit issued and whatever. And on the third day at Resai, the bats came around, and we volunteered, did the tests, and yeah, I went to 1 parachute battalion. 1 parachute battalion, D company, Delta company, with Major Grinling as the company commander, Saki Mare as the company sergeant major, then Lieutenant Erasmus Rassi, short guy, and he was just involved in a motorbike accident. So he, you know, his arm was smashed up and whatever. So we knew he was our lieutenant, but we hardly ever saw him. He was still in a recuperation period. And then we had a Corporal Jooste. Now, he just came back from a PTI course. Now, I mean, if you are a corporal at the Parabats and you are a PTI, you are mean. You know, I mean, you know, JCJ, you know what JCJ stands for. So, but, you know, it was so great. The discipline and, you know, everything we experienced there, and you know, especially Saki Mare, you know, the way he treated people, and you know, we used to wear this doibies, you know, all polished up with shoe shine and whatever. And one guy was urinating, and Saki got him there, and he started knocking this doibie of him, and, you know, the things he said to him and so on. So, although it was hard, you know, because it's not a joke there, you know, around the pakkies you go, and, you know, marble PT and all these things you have to do. It's hard, but the things that happened there, you know, really amused me so much that, you know, I just enjoyed it. And then obviously this whole thing about the panzers next to us and whatever, and the skirmishes, and when we go out early in the morning, you know, singing, and, you know, they would mock us, and when the 2 squads came like this, you know, you didn't budge and you knocked into one another, and so on. It was great stuff. And then obviously the skirmishes that took place between the panzers and us. So, you know, this thing of putting iron into a kussingsloop.
Hello.
So, you know, that fights we had, and, you know, it was really great. And I think it was we would start the PT course on the Monday, and on that Thursday on parade, 6 names were called out, of which my name was one. And, you know, Sergeant Major or the RSM, can't remember who it was at that stage, but in any case, formed into a squad. We on orders in front of the commander, Moore, Archie Moore. Now, okay, drilling off to the OC's office, you know, all was marched in simultaneously, you know, at Makeri Pass. So he said, okay, you've been identified as potential leaders. You will go to Oudtshoorn, and you will come back next year as the junior leader group for the intake of the next year. Is it clear? You know, not do you want to go? Would you like to, you know, just order? Okay, you go, you know, about 10 quick march out. So the RSM said, you know, go and pack your kit bag and, you know, pack up your stuff, clear out, and whatever, you have to be on the train by whatever hour. So yes, so there I left without actually qualifying as a parachutist, and there we went on our way to Oudtshoorn. We were received in Oudtshoorn and dealt into platoon 2 of Foxtrot Company, and we were kind of split up. I think there was 2 of us that came from the parachute battalion in platoon 2, and then it was very interesting. The corporals and the loots, you know, they would say, "Julle windgatte, yo, what's a windgat in English? Arrogant guys from, you know, but we're not parabats. I mean, you just did your basics there, and you know, you like any other person arriving at there. But because you came from the parachute battalion, they just nailed you. But you know, once again, there's something positive in that. You know, keep on nailing on you, and you know, if the platoon did 30 push-ups or whatever, you parabats do 10 more. So although they were picking on you and maybe thinking they are damaging you mentally or physically or whatever, you know, they're actually so short-sighted that it just builds you up more. So you become more fit, you become more resilient, and whatever. So, you know, once again, in my mind, I actually, you know, thought, stuff you, you know, you could do it, so just do it and get it done. And that's a fact, was I think weekly we used to do the 2,4. So, and you had, I can't remember the times. Is it 9 minutes or 10 minutes or I can't remember it anymore. But in any case, you run with your platoon. You have to come in, you know, under a certain time, and then you could sit out. Die windgat parabats. You could sit now out. You know, the next platoon will go, and then with the next platoon, you have to run again. So each time at infantry school, we ran the 2,4. You know, we had to do it twice. So yeah, but you know, it was also interesting. But then the corporals we had, and I would like to mention their names. It's a corporal, Kim Zocher. Obviously, his name suggests he's German. And Laras Verwy. And our lieutenant was a Lieutenant Kutsia. Very, very tall guy, red hair, very proud, you know. Caught him out in the bathrooms, you know, trimming his snore and, you know, being smart when he came out and so on. But he was actually a good guy. But Kim and Zocher, you know, they, in a very smart way, and yeah, I just want to add this in. I was always the youngest in my class, from grade 1 to matric, from first year at university to the third year, because it's just the way I went to school and whatever. But after the 3 years at university, I was actually one of the elder guys in the platoon. So, you know, in whatever terms, when the occasion arose, I, you know, kind of took leadership or whatever. So it was actually a very healthy situation, although all the things that goes with infantry school, which is an interesting place, you know, was actually great. But Laras and Kim, you know, they, I don't want to say they befriended me, but there was a certain respect relationship. You know, that they knew they couldn't break me. You know, even if I had to do X amount of more push-ups or sit-ups or run whatever, they just knew they, you know, they couldn't get to me. So this love-hate relationship developed between us, which was actually great, and up to today I still honor that and respect that. And if I carry on with the story later in 32 Battalion, it will come to light again. But in any case, yeah, then we did basics, and then you have to go to Oshavello and the bush trap and, you know, whatever. And they made me a lance corporal, temporary lance corporal with a section. So I had my section, and you go to Oshovelo, I think for a month, where you do training, coin ops, and whatever. And an interesting thing that happened there, Lieutenant Kutsia, and I'm not talking derogatively about him because he was really an example, proud guy, always straight, always neat, always smart. We did a patrol, and we went into a resting TB type of thing under a tree, and and got up, started walking off again. And I think about a kilometer further, he stopped the platoon, and he called his two corporals, Laras and Kim. He said, I have a problem. I have a big problem. I left my rifle at the previous army. So, whatever happened, he just got up and walked. So, Fourie, gaan haal my wapen, So I had to take my section, backtrack, find his weapon, and bring it back, which was fine and okay. And I just want to jump back. The Fastbyt 5. Fastbyt 5 is a thing and there's different Fastbyt 5s in at infantry school. We did the one from Oudtshoorn to Harold's Bay. So you go there over the Outeniqua Mountains. Now, very interesting, and it's actually grueling, no food and whatever. And once again, they picked on me and said, okay, you walk right behind. So everybody that was struggling, I had to carry their rifles or part of their pack. So, the Fastbyt 5, I had to carry about 3 weapons the whole time. And we were right at the summit of the Outeniqua Mountains. And it was very cold, and it was rainy and so on. So Laras, or one of the corporals, said, the Loot wants to see you. Go. So I went to the lieutenant, Kutsia. Said, he started nailing me. What the F are you doing? Who do you think you are? And, I didn't have a clue what they were talking about or, going on about. Sock for 5, and, I had to do push-ups and sit-ups and whatever. He said, who are you that your parents contacts the OC of infantry school and want to talk to you? Now, I mean, I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. So what had happened, and this is a fact now, I turned 21 during that March. It was in April. So my parents didn't know we were on, Fastbyt 5 or whatever. So they called to the tiki box. They used to call, or I used to call them. But, there was no answer and whatever. So eventually they ended up calling the OC, if they just wanted to congratulate me because I turned 21. And of course, really, I didn't realize that I turned 21 that day until they mentioned it. It was just out of my mind. And that was just also an interesting thing. But yeah, then the OC radioed to the platoon commander, just congratulate him and telling me his father and mother sends their regards or whatever. Okay, we completed that. I'm jumping back to coming back from an incident that happened during platoon. The Foxtrot company won the evaluation at Oshovelo of the evaluation they had, excuse me. So we had the privilege to deploy first, Foxtrot company. So there was an incident where the Terrs attacked a farm, and there was a group on the run. So Foxtrot company were their platoons. I think there was 4 platoons. We went into the area, did route marches and so on. And that's also the first time we, a la infantry style, laid an ambush. Now it's with a what did they call those? We had long lines, you know, so you tie them to one another. So you pull the line if there's something, you know, to alert the whatever. But up to today, now, you know, it's your first experience going to possibly face a real enemy. So, you know, you really had that tension. And a thing that I'm sitting on my farm as we are speaking now. So I hear the night jars at night here where I am. So if I hear that night jar, my mind goes back to that spot where we laid that ambush that very night, you know, way back when. So that was an interesting thing. In any case, so, you know, the whole operational thing with infantry school was actually, you know, a good experience. But, you know, the same thing. Take your section, go and scout that, you know, go and do that, go. And I enjoyed it. Then there was an incident where the Department of Water Affairs, they drilled boreholes and they provided fresh water to the community along the. So SWAPO also attacked them. I think they killed some of the water department guys. They took some hostage, if I can remember correctly, and, you know, took all the equipment. So we were in that area, deployed in that area. So there was a twee-spoor paadjie, 2-track path going through the area. So once again, Fourie was tasked to go and lie an ambush on this road. So a la infantry style, you know, the stopper groups, everything fine. There we were, dug in properly, a la infantry. So my stopper group towards the east reported they can hear vehicle. Now, immediately, the Bedfords, that was because the area was frozen, you know, so no friendly forces could drive there or be there or whatever. And here's vehicles coming. So obviously, I report back to my platoon commander, you know, we hear vehicles, whatever. Said, no, it's fine. And my stopper group reports they're on this road. Now we all hear them and we're all ready. And of course, at the stage, I just hear in a whisper voice from my stopper group, Corporal, it's theirs. So, and now I see the vehicles coming in, and it's old, dilapidated vehicles full of SWAPO, black guys, RPGs, AK-47s, PKMs, camouflage uniforms. And there's about 5 of these vehicles passing through our killing zone. So I had the choice to say, open up or just lie still. And I opted for this just lie still thing because, I mean, with this hell of a force passing with all these weapons, you know, in any case, they drove through our killing zone and they stopped about 100 meters from the other stopper group. And there they debussed. And, you know, we were peeping through our cover, and, you know, they offload all these tow weapons and everything. And I report this to the platoon commander, Lieutenant Kutsia. So here's Lieutenant Kutsia coming leopard crawling to my position. So he checks this out. He says, big problems. And at this stage, there's a white guy jumping off. And he says, Cubans. And he looks and he says, no, it's not Cuban. It's, and he calls out the name. He says, it's, let's say, Pete. He says, that's Pete. He was with me in the platoon last year, and he went to 32 Battalion. So, you know, and it was 32 Battalion that came past, and, you know, they obviously ignored the frozen zone or whatever, Now we are all tense, and they are forming up to start the march or whatever. So Lieutenant Kutsia broke his position and he shouted, "Pete, Pete, Pete!" And everybody, the 32 guys or the TERs, they all started, getting ready into a firing position. In any case, so it was 32 Battalion, and the two lieutenants were talking, and and we all broke cover, and we were socially standing around, and we were all just admiring this. I mean, I think it's the first time we in real life saw AK-47s and RPGs. You were taught that at infantry school, and the pictures and the what, but here they were in camouflage dress and whatever. And now they said, no, they deploying on a 6-week, ops into southern Angola and whatever, and the guys were getting ready. So that's also an interesting, one of the pointers I want to say. Any case, so we went back to Oudtshoorn and so on, and then the lieutenant and the corporals, they used to threaten us, the troops. They say, you want to go there because you could kind of choose where you wanted to go. We had to go back to parachute battalion. We had no choice. You were sent there from the batch. You're going back to the batch, and that's it. But they used to threaten everybody. As if you do this, and this, I won't send you to Walvis Bay. I'll send you to 32 Battalion. Whatever. Because some guys, they just said 6 weeks deployed into the bush, southern Angola. No. In any case, it was so. Then towards the end, I think it's in October. Yeah, towards the end of October, all the space units come to infantry school, and they say, they present themselves, the bereder, the horses, the dog school. The parabats don't go there. 32 Battalion, 33-1, the Bushmen. The Recces themselves, they weren't there. But in any case, so the 32 Battalion guys that was there, the OC was there, Colonel Gert Nel. So he said they want to establish a reconnaissance group in 32 Battalion. It doesn't exist, but they want to establish that. But this is 32 Battalion, but they also want to establish this group, and who's interested in going to 32 Battalion. I just want to jump back to my high school days quickly. From standard 6 until matric, we were a group of 5 very, very close friends, of which Nick the Toy, the guy that was caught in Sierra Leone or wherever, Nick was from standard 6 until matric. We were in the same class, and we were very big friends. And then Karel Faber, Fabes, the strongest guy, the fittest guy I've ever met. Now, we were in the class together from standard 6 until matric. I went to university, they went to the army, and they went to the Recces. And they passed the Recce course. And when I was still at university, when they did jumping courses or courses in Bloemfontein, they used to come and visit me, and it was great. So when Gert Nel said, they want to establish this group, they're going to do parachute jumping and so on. And I said, well, why go back to parachute battalion if I can go to 32, do something what Nick and Fabes are doing. And I mean, so, okay, we go, they said, who's interested in going to 32 battalion? 2 marches forward, march. So I take my 2 steps forward. So Lieutenant Kutsia says, Fourie, where are you going? 2 steps back, march. So Colonel Nel says to him, Lieutenant, are you aware of Army order number? And he rattles a Army number. which are you aware of that, Lieutenant? He says, well, Colonel, no. He said, well, that order says that anybody that volunteers to go to any of these units and they make the selection type of thing can go. So, Lieutenant, who's the guy? Fourie 234 into Mars, and okay. So eventually, I ended up, doing that little whatever selection, and I think 3 days later we cleared out. At infantry school, the guys at infantry school then went into a phase doing methodic methodology or whatever, instruction and blah blah blah. So we missed that, and we got onto the aircraft to 32 Battalion. Yeah, I think we went to Pretoria, Waterkloof, Flossie, Rundu, got out there and reported at 32 Battalion. Was maybe I'm gonna stop here. I don't know what we are doing on time and if you want me to carry on, but I think that's school career, university, infantry school, and maybe we can then carry on with the next session, or I can go on. It's up to you. What do you want to suggest, Koos?
Well, so it's the first time that we even had flies interested in what the guest has to say. It's that good. But I must tell you, sadly, my wife wants the studio in 10 minutes from now. So we'll have to go to the next one, where we start at 32 Battalion and then go forward. Okay. But I must also thank you, sir, for your kind words in the beginning to me. And perhaps I should just explain the dreams. I actually had 3 dreams. My wife has been telling me for a long time, why don't you just do a show? Why don't you interview these people? And I thought, who the hell would want to speak to me? I've got the wrong voice for it. It's too deep, actually. And people can't hear me when I speak because I probably never learned to speak properly and blah, blah, blah. I had all sorts of excuses. But I said to our Lord, I said, Father, if this is what you want me to do, show me. And then 2 nights in a row, I had the same dream, go and do it. So then I thought of a Bible. There was this one fellow who also had to go to war or something. And he said it was about the sheepskin. It must be wet and then it must not be wet. He left it outside. And so I said to the Lord, let me not dream about it tonight, but tomorrow night. And would you believe that's exactly what happened? And I thought to myself, wow, this is okay, let me start. And who can I bring here as a major star? The only one I know is Esvia Fourie. And I do know, of course, if people are going to ask me if you and Esvia are family, because you have the same surname, I don't know. He's from the Namibian side of the Fouries and you are not. And so I said, Esvia, man, since we're writing your book, just come and talk to us here. We'll tell the story, and from that you will remember a bit more. And from there on, everything just happened, and I praise the Lord for that. And I thank you for your kind words. I really hope that everyone listening here, and the senior officers tell me this, and I'm sure you will say the same, there is no such thing as an unimportant man. Everybody contributed. Everybody was important, and it's important that we get your stories. You will not believe how many letters I get from children and from wives, and even one from a tannie, by which I mean an old a mother. She wrote to me and they say to me, Koos, our men never spoke. We never talked about what happened there. And it wasn't the in thing. And I think in special forces and there you don't talk anyway. I mean, you can't. You're bound by secrecy. And so the channel grew and these people said to me, it's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that to me is just the greatest thing ever. So I thank you for that, sir. I must also say that my wife and myself, Rebecca, we wrote 2 good books actually together about the Jewish army rescuing Jews during the Second World War out of France, occupied France, which is something I didn't even know happened. And they took hands with intelligence people, and they would parachute in and they would rescue these Jews and they would bring them out. As in all our books, of course, there's a lot of history because absolutely love history. And in one of the books, I think it is, Where Does It End? I do talk about this Sound of Music, because as you know, that is actually on a true story. But sadly, I have to say that the movie wasn't that accurate. They didn't fly to Switzerland. They didn't climb the Alps. They took a train to Austria, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to me. Then I have another comment. I was making comments as you were talking. Now that we're talking about the Free State University, I was there myself. And one day the professor started telling jokes. Now, of course, I was a very diligent student. So I was 25 years old, and I really wanted to get through it. And I must tell you, sir, we have something in common with Latin, because I think I got the grand total of 11%. And then I switched to Latin Special, which was like a very, very basic. And so you could recognize the law students who would walk around and they repeat this Latin words, ik, hak, hok, and then you break the wind. So you could see the law boys walking around there. But the professor told us in his days at Kofsies, where he was studying as a first-year student, he was also part of Groene. I don't know what you call that in English. Initiation, I think.
Yeah.
And he said he had to get up. Now, everybody who knows Bloemfontein is a cold place. It's a damn cold place. And so he said he had to get up and sit on the toilet to heat up the seat for his senior.
For the seniors.
For the senior, yeah. So he had to do it. And then about Saki Mare, I have to say, Saki's video went to about 16,000 hits in the first 2 weeks. It was just fantastic. Lots of comments, wonderful fellow. And there was one guy from one side who actually wrote there, and I'm surprised that the paratroopers didn't reply to it, but he said they tried their luck at one side and they had to retreat. Apparently the one side guys has chased them all the way back to where they came from.
One side guys or the one bin guys? The one parachute guys chased them all?
No, the one side guy, he said the infantry chased the parabats all the way back to where they came from. He said they were crying. He said they were chunky. But well, I have to say to this fellow, if you're listening here, please come and tell that story, because I'm sure the paratroopers are gonna say something about you. I have to say that this was fantastic, and I'm sure that everybody is now waiting for the next episode, because we know you had a distinguished career, and I'm very grateful to you, sir. Thank you so much. Once again, to everyone listening here, you are welcome, but you need to contact me. I don't know you. I really don't know you. So you have to come to me. The email address is here below me. Just contact me, tell me you've got a story, and I will take it further. You are not unimportant. Come and tell us the history. Let us get this together. I tell you why. We don't need to convince ourselves what we are. We know what we are. But there's a lot of other people who don't know, and they only hear one story, one side of it. Now, anybody who studied law, or even in all fairness, doesn't matter. You know that you have to hear both sides of the story. It's called the audi alteram partem rule. Now,
I remember.
This is what we're doing. Yes, indeed, sir. So this is what we're doing. We're putting people in a place where they can judge after they heard us out. And that is the best we can hope for, and it's probably the best we can do. So you're all welcome here. Thank you for your thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to know more, and post around. Tell your friends about it. Until we meet again, God bless.
Koos, thank you very, very much. You're a great host. Thank you.